And let me start by saying that there is no region in the world with which the United States has as many connections as it does with Latin America and the Caribbean. 50 million people, 1 in every 6 Americans, consider ourselves Latino or Hispanic and trace our roots to the region. This is often forgotten, but the United States exports about $370 billion a year to Latin America and the Caribbean. That's 3.5 times more than we export to China, and about 30% more than we export to the European Union. A third of our global crude oil imports come from Latin America and the Caribbean. And nearly a fifth of high-skilled migrants that are admitted to the United States every year through one of our key visa programs comes from Latin America and the Caribbean. So these are some key examples of how those connections that tie us together are very strong. Now, because the region has become so familiar to us over time, I think it's easy to forget how much the region has changed. And if you consider the region in the last 2 decades, you'll see, I think, some very impressive change. The beginning of the 1990s, Latin America was coming out of a lost decade of zero net growth. And yet, at the beginning of at the time, they had poverty and inequality that were stubbornly high. High inflation and hyperinflation were common. Fiscal imbalances were dangerously unsustainable. And banking and currency crises were common. But since 1990, the region's economy has more than doubled in real terms. Poverty and inequality have fallen significantly. Inflation is now mostly in the single digits across the region. Financial systems are generally stable. And macroeconomic frameworks in most countries are sound. In other words, Latin America today, many of those economies in Latin America today are engines of balanced, sustainable, and inclusive growth in a world that badly needs it. So my goal today is to identify some of the implications of these changes for the relationship between the U.S. and the countries of the region. And I want to leave you with 2 key thoughts. The first is that closer economic links between the United States and Latin America will be extremely important, in fact critical, if we are to accelerate and sustain U.S. growth and job creation. And the reason for that is that changes in the hemisphere over the last few years have ensured that those countries are today credible, responsible, and reliable economic partners. And that's a significant qualitative difference. The second point I want to leave you with is that the U.S. economy, in turn, will be indispensable for the countries of Latin America and the Caribbean as they seek to achieve their full economic potential and aspire to join the ranks of the world's most prosperous societies.